Hey, Brian?
Brian? Damn it. Brian!
I can't figure this out. Okay,
Can you help me?
Please.
Sure. Help me.
Sure. What happened?
The voice. It keeps going
Wonky. It keeps going wonky.
Is it this dial?
Try this one. Try that.
Maybe
Is it that one? No.
Damn it.
What's happening? I don't know. I turned it all the way down.
Well, turn it back up. Jesus.
Damn it.
Well, that didn't work either.
There's no way I'm gonna get my voice acting auditions done.
Sweetie, it's okay. Just stop and take a breath.
I love you.
Gross. You guys are fucking adorable.
Shut up, nerd.
I always love helping you. It's okay to take breaks and ask for help.
Yeah. Because otherwise, I think my anger would have made my work awful. It's probably better not to try to record when you're in a bad way.
Agreed. Well, why don't we go watch the new Falcon and Winter Soldier later?
That's a good idea. I wonder what Renara, Zamoody, and Eldurrino do when they're frustrated like this.
We're about to find out. It's podcast time!
Oh, shit! Can you buy me some time? I need to put on some makeup.
Sure.
Welcome to Cold Read, the podcast. Featuring Renara Hawke, The Road to Eldurrino, PrincessPashley, and Zamoody.
Broadcasting from 4 different parts of the world.
A podcast by voice actors for voice actors.
Disclaimer!
They don't claim to be professionals, but they hope that with their experience and advice, they can help you along the journey. Ladies and gentlemen, sit back, relax, and enjoy the podcast.
Hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time of day it is for you. Welcome to Cold Read, a voice actors podcast designed to help you with your journey into the wonderful world of voice acting. I'm your host today, Eldurrino, filling in for our wonderful resident wizard Zamoody, who is feeling a little under the weather today. Today's intro was made by Pashley and B. Liddy,
And
featuring the Water Messiah for, disclaimer.
Nice.
Very insightful. I am no stranger to technical issues when it comes to getting ready to do pretty much anything. I imagine you're probably the same, Pashley.
yeah, I think it's just a regular occurrence for streamers. Like you try to figure out how to make it part of the content. You know what I mean?
Right.
Speaking of microphone issues,
Oh yes. May
do
I say
I
you
sound any
clear?
better?
So
A little
beautiful.
bit, yeah. A little less
God.
tinny or reverby.
Hey, okay, so right. Apparently Discord had set it to default, and I hadn't noticed until last week because I trusted you all to tell me, and you didn't. And
Well,
so
I blame Dorina.
I mean, that's totally fair. You can blame me because I did notice. I just didn't want to say anything because I'm an
you're
evil
cruel.
bastard.
Well,
But,
okay. I noticed, and I swear I always almost brought it up, and then something in my head was like, well, maybe it's intentional. Maybe she had it set up in a particular way, and I didn't want to mess with it. I'm sorry.
No, well, okay. Now, but the only reasoning I can put it to is that on my side, I'm not awake by the time you put it up on YouTube, so I don't go to watch it immediately, and then stuff gets in the way. So haven't like literally
You have technical issues.
I literally it was strange because really weird tangent on how this is going to work.
That's fine.
But the thing that Grim has been cast for, I actually now got to know the project leader of that, and Badger has basically auditioned for my thing, and so I then sent him to our stream. Then I went, I'll just go see and have a look at it, and that was when I found out that I sounded like this. So that was really weirdly how that happened.
Well, granted, I don't think it's affected many of the
No.
previous episodes. Maybe like one or two, but
Okay.
I'm glad you sorted it out.
Yes.
Well, thank you all for being here. I'm excited to talk about today's topic. It is definitely one that everybody watching or listening can relate to, and that is the wonderful thing that we call life.
Yay.
Before we get into that, though, let's do our regular check-in, starting on the other side of the world with Renara. How has your week been? Good answer. Moving on.
I think it was kind of one of the things of let's do this subject for today. No, I mean, last week was just absolute rubbish in regards to just medical stuff, mental health things, diagnoses, and all of that jazz. Then things getting amplified to the point of it was like, I can't stream, I can't be there next, like this was last week, but I really can't be there, otherwise things might be really bad. And then basically this week has been let's readjust to this stuff, and then it was I have now been stabbed in the name of science, aka got my first vaccine. So I am now first half vaccinated, and I had not a bad reaction, but one of the side effects is you get the shakes, and I had really, really bad shaking, and I woke up at 2 a.m. and just couldn't stop shaking for 2 hours.
Wow.
It is a side effect that doesn't commonly happen. It just so happens to I was just the unlucky one to have that it happened, and so I'm recovering from the jab. I still hurt and everything, and so yeah, no auditions done this week.
No,
to put it
very
mildly.
understandable. Yeah.
However, and because I wasn't here to talk about it last week, I got cast for as a Dunmer again in a DLC-sized mod called Odyssey of the Dragonborn, which is going to be out at some point. I don't know when, but I'm one of the lead roles, which is like really awesome. Because apparently my Cockney accent was right. It was right what they needed. So
Nice.
Very cool. Very cool.
I'm very happy, and that's one thing that sort of brightened me up. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Well, congrats. So my question to you then before we move on is, when is the Dunmer cosplay coming?
When Comic-Cons and group gatherings are a thing again.
Perfect.
Nice.
Which will be maybe this summer. So Dunmer coming soon.
All right. I can't
I don't know. Maybe we should do an episode where we dress up as characters that we got cast as.
That could be interesting.
That'd be kind of cool.
That would take a lot of preparation, but I'd be down.
Anyway,
We'll plan something in the future.
Yeah.
How's your week been, Pash?
It's there is parent frustration this week. There's ex-husband frustration this week. I won't rail against him too much. But you know, he decided to we had an issue on Thursday with Luke where he was refusing to get off his video game and go to his tutoring. He was playing Town of Salem. It's one of those things, it's kind of like Among Us.
Yeah.
A little different. And I was like, I need you, we gotta do your homework. Your homework's more important than these 12 other people. And I lost my temper, blah, 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 blah. So I call his dad. It's like, you need to tell him to respect his mother and do his homework. Very simple. I'm not asking much. And I was blown off twice during the day.
Wow.
And then he said, I'll call him tonight, blah, 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 blah. He never calls. The following day, at 9 o'clock in the morning, it's like, oh, I'm taking Luke to Florida on Sunday. And I'm like,
Well,
okay, what?
So kind of the opposite of what he should have done.
Yeah.
So, and then I'm like, oh, is this why? And he's like, oh, I was talking to new girlfriend on the phone about this. And I was like, okay. So it's a very frustrating situation because I can't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't want to reveal too much.
No, well, I don't want to reveal too much, but I also don't want to I don't know. It's just really frustrating. just
Right.
co-parenting with someone like who has no accountability towards you, you know.
Yeah.
And anyway, so that was my frustration. And but it's all good. You know what? I'm not married to him anymore, and I have a fabulous new boyfriend who made me an egg sandwich this morning.
Wow.
Salad sandwich or just
No,
eggs?
just like egg, cheese, and English muffin.
Okay, less impressed.
There's not even
What?
bacon or sausage. What?
Well, no.
No,
But that was all I wanted.
Muffin is. Sorry.
An English muffin. It's something like we tried to rip off of you guys and we bastardized it because
Is it-
America.
Is it a crumpet?
No, it's. I don't think so. Kind of a
There we
sour.
go. English and
Kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
I'll find out
think
eventually.
sourdough bread.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
Oh,
kind
It's
of.
just small and
and
round.
they're-
Sourdough bread's Irish.
Oh well, there you go.
I don't know what
It's
the
not well known,
comparison
but it
is.
is.
But they call it English. Thomas's English muffins is actually the name
Thomas's
brand.
English muffins.
Yes.
They're like one of my favorite things in the world. So
Okay.
as bastardized as they are, I love them.
Ravenmain
we
in
have
chat.
American pancakes, so.
Ravenmain in chat asks, scale of 1 to 10, how good was the egg sandwich?
Oh yeah.
It was like 9 out of 10. What would have put it over the top was the bacon.
True.
But you know, there's only so much you can do when you don't have bacon. So
But
it
yeah,
was the thought that counted.
If he was a good guy, he would have made
substitute
bacon
with
appear.
Pretty much anything.
Wow. He's putting up with me, so he's already a good guy. So
And did you have a chance to get any auditions in today?
No.
Or any
No.
highlights of your week you want to talk about?
I did, you know, I've been doing recording for church, like for my church job. They upped my pay, which means I'm making more of that stuff. So that stuff has to take, like the stuff I am receiving money for,
Mm-hmm.
and that takes precedence
Of
over,
course.
you know. So I guess I've been doing recordings and
Yeah.
so no, I've been really, fell off the wagon with it so hard, but it's been really busy, really crazy. So, but on the other hand, I am hopefully getting my contract renewed next week for my current job. I was on a 3-month trial as 1099 and I don't see them terminating me. So well,
Yeah.
I say that. And I've been working my fucking face off for them. So I will see. We shall see. That was the thing. That's the problem with voice acting a little bit, like in the beginning is like you're trying to be like time is money and get into it. And I really do like doing it, but at the same time, you know, trying to rebuild my life in a way. I'm like, okay, I'm getting paid to do this. Therefore I need to do this. And then things get pushed to the back burner, you know, the things that you do like.
Right.
So anyway, I apologize for being a lazy fuck.
No, not
Not
at
a
all.
lazy fuck.
I think you'll
we'll
find out it may be
definitely-
a theme for this week, but we'll keep going.
Yeah. No, we'll definitely dig into that here in a little bit.
It's very
Zamoody,
painful.
tell us about your week. I have heard it's been quite rough.
These last couple of days have been really rough. So, I mean, I'm still trying to get used to my new getting up before in the morning schedule at work.
That
To
sounds
open the office
horrendous.
and everything else. For the most part, I mean, I haven't had much time to do the things that I like to do. I did some voices.com, nothing really major. And then come Friday, I got my second vaccine in my arm. So now I'm just waiting the 2 weeks to get inoculated. But at the same time, I picked up this ear infection that I've been on and off for since like January, and it kicked my butt. I mean, I ended up going to Kaiser yesterday, and they didn't really do that much. And I was actually considering going to the ER last night. And thankfully, I mean, stuff has cleared up a lot more, but it's been a rough couple of days. I've been up since 2 a.m. This is why, I mean, Eldurrino's taking over for me because I am a space cadet today. So I apologize.
Welcome to my life.
Yeah.
No, I mean, totally
It's all
understandable. But I know how it feels to have to do something important and then, you know, feel like absolute shit. It's the worst. So,
For sure,
but
for
I'm glad you're here. I hope you're getting better as time goes along.
Yeah.
I hope you can at least get in to see a doctor that will actually take the time to investigate what the hell's going on, because I know you've been dealing with those in your ear infections for quite some time, right?
Yeah, and this one, the scary thing of this one is I went from nothing to like crying out in pain in 24 hours. So super fast onset is what scares me. So I sent a
Yeah.
message to my primary because it was the urgent care doctor that pretty much like in and out. So I'm waiting to hear back from them.
Okay.
I will also note that I got cast for a video game again from Ebonsoft, which is the people that we did the visual novel for. I got cast as the dad of the main protagonist. So look forward to doing that.
Was this the one that you got cast as the pro and antagonist?
No. That's a different video game. That's on Voices, not on Voices. That's on CCC. This one came from initially Voices.com. I did the dad of another character, and now I'm cast as the older dad of this other character in this more serious, more scary visual novel. So I'm sure more to come.
Congrats to you as well.
Thank you.
Round of applause. Sorry.
Yes.
Snippy snaps.
No.
Well, cool. Again, glad to have you here. Glad you're sticking with it. Glad to hear good news. As for myself, my week has been it was actually going pretty well for the most part. I didn't have much time to do any auditions during the week. And so I planned on getting up on Saturday morning before all the hustle and bustle outside with airplanes and helicopters and cars and yada yada. Well, I woke up Saturday morning to find that we had a power surge or an outage in the middle of the night because the previous day we had very high speed winds here. And I turned on my computer because it was off and it wouldn't boot.
Wow.
So spent a few hours just getting that diagnosed and repaired and whatnot. Managed to finally get it back up and running. And I had to do like a reinstall of Windows in a sense. All my personal files, those were fine, no issues with that. But I did have to like reinstall a bunch of programs and such. I'm not even done with it technically because I'm going to do a fresh install tomorrow most likely. But in any case, it basically just took up like a good portion of my day. So was not too thrilled with that. And then what was there was an issue today. That I just discovered more issues with my PC today.
Right.
So,
Just more and more.
We were gonna play Sea of Thieves, which is I know a game that also Pashley and Renara has right before.
Right.
And didn't work out.
Yeah, was not happy. So let this be a lesson to myself and anyone else out there: do not buy anything off the Microsoft Store ever,
unless you sponsor us. I'm sorry, what?
Even if they give us money. So week was okay. Weekend not so great. But c'est la vie. That's life. You know, stuff's gonna happen to you whether you like it or not, and you just have to roll with the punches and deal with it. So that's a good there's a good segue into our discussion for today, which is life and how it can get in the way of your hobbies or your pursuits or just things you like to do in general. Most times it's unplanned and it can be really discouraging when you're not able to focus on the things that you want most, voice acting being a big one for all of us. As I said, I wanted to do auditions this weekend and I couldn't just because life got in the way. And I know that, like, from personal experience, it really is hard when you're ready to sit down, you're really focused, and you just want to go at whatever it is you want to do, and then all of a sudden, life throws a wrench in the works. It really kills your motivation. So I would like to.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's weird because I started to get this feeling of I'm falling behind, and that pressure on your shoulders, just sort of like I gotta do something, and so it was kind of just sort of it drove anxiety, which didn't help. It's probably added to my week being a bit but I think one of the ways that I was able to, at the very least, sort of temper it, because I knew I just wasn't in the right space to do any recording, because I've got like about 10 lines left of my Skywind stuff, and I've got and I'm so close, but I was like, if I can't do these now because I've got 2 chapters I still need to record from. I'm like so close to finishing stuff, but I was in the thing of, if I do these now, the quality is going to be a lot worse, and it's just gonna bite me in the butt later. So I just sort of decided to do like not secondary stuff, but less intense things, but still related to like voice acting and like my projects and stuff. Basically, I took the time to go through some of the auditions that people had done on my casting call and just message people back saying, hey, like, do you think you could do this in regards to like, I liked your stuff, to improve, could you re-audition and do this or like do this and that? And I felt productive, and I also was helping people, which is one of my core things that makes me me and stuff. So I was just sort of like, hey, even though I feel utterly rubbish and like I kind of don't know what I'm doing at the moment, it was one of those sorts of things where you could sort of like track, hey, this is happening. I'm still being a productive member of society.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it was just like the small things. Seriously, the small things in life are what get you through in life. It's that having that cup of tea in the morning before you go to work. It's that you come home and the bedroom's tidy or something. It's those small bits that just add up to being able to get you back to where you want to be. And so it's kind of like, if you're having a rough time, just focus on the small things immediately around you that might help to get you back into the swing. I still feel rubbish physically. Mentally, I'm okay now. I could probably do some recording, but I feel physically worse now because of the jab. So I'm there because like just as I was coming out of it, I went physically worse. I was like, oh, for God's sakes.
Right.
But yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's important to remember that life is going to affect you personally, and you got to remember that it's going to affect the other people around you as well. The point that I want to make behind that is that there was a project that I was following for a while that I did audition for, and I thought I did really well on it. I was very hopeful that I would get cast for it. And then the deadline came around and there was no decisions made at all, no feedback, nothing. And then after a few months, I followed up with the project, and they had put a comment up on it saying like, you know, this project has been postponed indefinitely just because I have so many things going on in my life. I'm moving, I'm going to school, I'm working a full-time job, et cetera, that I just don't have the time to focus on this project right now. So, you know, I hope you guys stick around. I hope, you know, at some point in the near future, we can return to this and try to make something happen. So it's important that, especially when it comes into voice acting, that, you know, these things are going to happen not just to you, but to the people around you. So it's important to always have patience with other people that you're working for or that are working with you, but have patience with yourself as well. Because if you don't, you're going to become frustrated. It's going to affect your performances. It's going to unmotivate you. I don't know what the correct word is, because, you know, I'm not English.
Maybe unmotivated, but
so yes.
Does it really matter?
Sort of. I mean, I just read words. I'm not expected to know what they mean.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. We just read the words given to us. It's fine.
Exactly. You know. I want to go around and like have everyone give like a good example of something that has happened to them maybe recently, or some memory that they can think of in which something in life has sidetracked you from doing the things or getting the things that you wanted in life. It doesn't have to necessarily be voice acting related if you don't want it to be, but it'd be good to go around and just talk about that so that we can discuss how we dealt with it personally, or what we could have done to maybe try to avoid said issue. Yeah, I just think that would make for a good discussion.
Back to going last. I'm really struggling here.
All right. Any other volunteers?
I don't know. I'm like trying to figure out how to separate myself from little catastrophes. My therapist said this, like, oh, it just seems like, you know, you have a lot going on. You need to find an anchor in the storm. And I wanted to take a different direction on the podcast because with not the podcast, the intro, to like really show what Brian has been in my life, like literally over the past 2 years, because it has just been one thing after the other, like to the face. And I think having emotional social support systems is like, for me at least, number one. And then having me waking up and doing like crosswords in the morning to get my brain awake, but like, you know, having like I like doing the New York Times minis rather than the big ones. Like the big ones I do anyway just to push myself, but the minis are like giving me a little hit of serotonin, because we are dealing with chemicals here. We are spiritual beings, but everything is governed by chemicals, you know. So you have to make decisions purposefully to get the serotonin into your brain. You know, that at a very superficial level. I am not a medical professional. However, but just with my experience, if you're doing, like, it's like Renara said, if you're doing things that make you happy, you increase your chances. Does that cure you if you have like depression problems and anxiety? Probably not, but you know, they like just for an ordinary situation, you know, like my ex-husband doesn't call to be supportive. Instead, he's talking about taking a trip to Florida with you know, I have no choice. You know, I'm like, okay, well, we're going to go do this now. Like, and we went and played Among Us, you know, just shit like that. So anyway, long story short.
It's like what you choose to do in that moment. Do you get more worked up, or do you try and figure not Anakin, I have the high ground, but the sort of thing.
It's like it's what's productive to you, and it's kind of like there's a process of forgiveness that I'm still going through with him, and it's very much trigger, like every time there's like a complete lack of respect, it just hits me at my core, and there's a lot stirred up in those moments. Like I've learned that writing is probably a really good idea for me to just get it out, because it just feels like a pain in my chest, you know. So writing also a good way to, like, you know, settle your emotions, work out your emotions, because it can start you on a path that just can be like dominoes, you know.
Sure.
So,
No,
coping
absolutely.
mechanisms.
Yeah.
You know,
Renara,
Sorry.
no, sorry. Go ahead.
What?
I was just checking with Renara to see if she thought of it.
Well, I've got like a couple, in the sense of I don't know if I can go into too much detail with either of them, so I'll talk about both of them in regards to, because you were talking about like ex-partners and stuff. Like I had a partner who once I told him about some sort of like some mental health stuff that I struggle with on occasion, and he decided to romanticize it and make it something it really wasn't. And it was one of my first relationships, and it taught me a lot about how to, in a weird way, like value myself and value, like, what is it, to not deal with shit. How to basically go nope and walk away. It taught me that, and it taught me a good thing of like, if this isn't good for you, just stop and walk away. Like, I have no problems. Like I won't feel like, because I know that, like, some people have that thing of like they'll weigh up the options. Is it good, bad? Do I not? I will just go, you know what, no, bye. Won't even think about it. And that goes into also when I was at university, I did a male predominant course. There was about only 10 to 15 females on the film production course I was doing, and my opinion was genuinely valued less. Literally. Wow. I was told loads of I could have said the same thing as somebody else in that room, and I would have just been overlooked. And it made me feel so rubbish for 3 years. And I felt, after university, I felt just exhausted, because I remember vividly, there was one moment, we were doing a TV show. It was a mock TV show. So I was in the gallery. I was first AD. So I was in the gallery. I was sat next to the director. I had a stopwatch in my hand, and it was my job to basically call down to the floor manager, right, like, basically, you have this X amount of time, you got to wrap up in 30 seconds or whatever. And like literally, like I just got so much, like people looked down on me with disgust almost. Whenever I did, like just beforehand, I was like, okay, so you know what's going on? Like, of course I do. What are you talking about? But if it was somebody else, they wouldn't have been like that. They literally were sort of snobby-ish. And so I had to come down and be terrifying. I said I apparently turned into someone very terrifying, because I was just so strict. I ended up sort of turning into someone so strict, because anytime I was just sort of like myself, I wasn't listened to. And even because I was on my university course, it wasn't something I could just walk away from. So I learned, it was a weird roller coaster thing of learning how to balance dealing with that atmosphere whilst also finding time to enjoy myself and like balance that out with other things. And I think because I didn't exactly have a support group per se, because I mean I found it difficult to socialize with people in general. But yeah, it was kind of the thing of like learning that self-worth within you and figuring out what makes you worthy to be listened to strengthened me to the point where I could be like, yeah, I like it was more, it became less of a burden and more of a, I can deal with this, it's fine, they're not, it's not me, it's the job or whatever. And that was like the really early days of that. I've tangented. I can't even remember what the flipping question was. That always happens. God damn it.
You're fine.
No, that's really good to talk about, because I think with your experience as well as Pashley's, those are two really good examples of how sometimes life gets in the way and you don't really have any control over it, and you just have to kind of deal with it the best way that you know how. And sometimes it does kind of force us into positions that we don't necessarily want to take, you know, like Pashley kind of, I'm assuming, had to raise her voice to her son. You had to become more strict to the people that you were trying to instruct. And nobody wants to necessarily be someone that they're not, unless they're getting paid for it.
Nice.
So, you know, it's rough. And I know personally, like, not to insinuate like I'm some type of control freak, but you know, when my life is going a direction that I don't want it to go, I try to change it. And if I can't, it becomes very challenging for me to keep my head up and remain cheerful. That leads me into my own story. Back during so between 2013 and 2018, I worked for a unnamed corporation of restaurants, doing IT work for them.
Smooth.
And it started out pretty okay. It was a very, very cushy job. I had to work my butt off, but it was for the amount of work that I had to do, I was paid fairly well. After a while, though, a lot of stuff within the company changed. That company and another one had a merger. Management changed. It started going downhill very quickly, and it made my life a living hell. I normally, like a lot of people wake up in the morning saying like, I don't want to have to go to work, you know, but like I would wake up every single morning for a better part of about a year and a half saying, today is the day I'm going to quit my job.
Wow.
But I could never do it because it was too good of an opportunity. It was like the money that I was making was good. I had built up a tremendous, well, I don't want to say tremendous, but a substantial amount of savings, which was very beneficial for me because I came from basically nothing, you know? And so it was just a position that I started resenting every single day. And not only that, but at that time, like there was someone there that I worked with that I considered one of my best friends, really, because we spent a lot of time together, both at work and outside of work. And that friendship started falling apart as well. And I know that some of it was partly on me, but after time I started learning that he was very manipulative and toxic person to be around. Basically, like, you know, if I don't get my way, then I'm not going to talk to you kind of person.
I think we've all known somebody like that at one point.
Right.
That's emotional manipulation.
Yeah,
and it sucks to deal with, you know, being friends with someone for however long, only to realize that they've been using and abusing you. Like, it's not a good realization. I mean, it's good in the long run after everything is said and done, for sure, just because you realize what the problem was, and then you can move on from there. But anyways, I digress. So after, you know, that 4 to 5 year span of my job, I was like, I'm not going anywhere. My goal within that first 5 years of my job was to receive a promotion of some type, at the very least, because I know what I'm capable of. I know what I'm good at. I busted my ass while I was there, so I figured I was in line to, you know, take that next step. And after 3 years, I kind of got a promotion. I went from tier 1 help desk to tier 3 help desk. Sounds good in theory, but here's the kicker. 1, my paycheck did not increase at all. 2, I had to basically take everything that I had learned from the first 3 years and throw it out the window, and I had to learn everything new. During that 2-year span, whilst I was in that new position, I had a manager that didn't really know how to be a manager. He was more of a one-man army, and he always wanted to do everything himself. And therefore, when I had an opportunity to learn something new, he would take it and then never explain to me what he did. So therefore, I was stuck. I was always hitting a wall. I could never try and grow in that new position, and that was really debilitating to me. After a while, I realized that my life was going nowhere. And during that time is when I started kind of like reaching out to people to say, like, you know, I don't really like my job, and frankly, I don't really know if I like working in IT. Like, I don't foresee myself doing this for the rest of my life. And fortunately, one of my closest friends, Ethan, who I've known since I was a child, basically, still very, very good friends with him and his wife, Alyssa, we went out to dinner one night, and they had said that they were actually talking about it the other day, and that they think I would be good as a radio voice. And that was very jarring to me, I guess, because I had never heard anybody say that about my voice before. I know people have said, like, oh, you have a deep voice, or, you know, kind of a gravelly voice, but never that I have a radio voice. And I was like, that's really interesting. And so that kind of got the gears moving as to the next steps I want to take. Back when I was in school prior to graduating, I really wanted to pursue musicianship, as I've talked about before. And so after I had left that job, I was like, you know, maybe I could try that again. Maybe I can try like streaming and singing or writing music, you know, just to see where it leads me to. I mean, it was nice. It was a nice break to kind of sit and do what I wanted to do for so long. Unfortunately, didn't really pay off in the way that I was hoping that it would. But I mean, that's, you know, musicianship is a very, very hard thing to get into, similar to voice acting. I would say even more so, but that's opinion. And then that kind of led me into thinking back, you know, my friends had said, you have a good radio voice. And I was like, what other voices would I be suited for? And that's really kind of what drove me into voice acting. And as silly as it sounds, like, I'm almost grateful for the fact that I worked at a shitty job for so long, because it made me realize that what I was pursuing at that current time is not something that I actually wanted. It was more something to pay the bills and to continue to live on my own, not something that I actually enjoyed thoroughly.
I think that's also one thing, and I've noticed this I mean, I work in a school, so I work with children in like day to day, and it's one thing that is never really taught in that you're as a child, you're expected that once you leave school, you'll get a job and you'll stay in that job. Like it's sort of ingrained into our society of that job that you're going to aim for is the job that you're going to get. Like. And then it was only when I left university and then kind of didn't make it into the film industry and had my huge, I mean, because I think I've talked about it before, but I'll say it here because it's quite a good one. I went to a film course by a huge corporation that will not be named here because I don't want to be sued.
Disclaimer.
But
Disclaimer.
The amount of stress it put me under hospitalized me, and so it was upon that moment of going, oh my god, what am I going to do with my life, what is happening? And then my parents both kind of went, hey, like, you've worked in fast food and that was really bad, you've done retail, like retail's all well and good, but it's not really going to give you rent, why not be a teaching assistant, like it's pretty good and stuff. And then I just sort of went, oh, but I'll get stuck as a teaching assistant. I don't want to be a teacher. I don't want that responsibility on my shoulders. But then it's when I became a teaching assistant, I then met other teaching assistants, and like that most of them are in their like we've got like some who are my age and some who are like 50s and some who are really old, and the sort of middle-aged people are like, oh, I was an air stewardess, I did this, I did that, I done that, and they've had like 8 and 10 different other jobs. And it's one of those things where you kind of like, oh, I don't have to stick at this for the rest of my life. I can do so many things. I can do whatever I want. And it's one of those things where like, oh, wait, when life does, but like life has a weird way of sort of nudging you into doing certain things, if you know what I mean. Like you had your job, which you had that really bad job, which then life went, you know what, you needed to be here, so you met these guys so that you did this, so that you did this. And it's really weird that how like just life genuinely has a plan for you. You just can't really see what that plan is.
Well, you just need to you need to pay attention to the screens, really, like as whatever as that may sound. I took an entire year off of working, completely drained my savings, which was not a really smart idea, but at the same time it gave me enough time to kind of focus on myself, focus what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And I'm very grateful for the experience that it gave me, because it allowed me to start streaming and practice more being in front of people, which is not something I was entirely used to. Like I used to play in a band, I would get up in front of crowds and stuff like that, but that was more like I was focused on the song, I was focused on my instrument. I didn't really have to pay attention to the crowd. Whereas streaming, voice acting, you want to pay more attention to how you present yourself. And so I started off with Twitch Sings as well. That led me to meeting people like Pashley and Zamoody, and all of that started to snowball and lead me to where I am now. It allowed me to meet the love of my life, who I now have lived with for almost an entire year and been in a relationship for over a year now. Like it all really collectively helps. You just have to know when to call it quits on certain things and move forward with your life. And with my story, I feel like that is more something that I had more control over. I was in charge of my own destiny. Parentheses too.
God damn it.
Sorry. Anyways, Zamoody, do you have any topics that you want to talk about, or stories?
I mean, I totally feel you when it comes to the dead end job. I worked at an office supplies store for like 3 years of my life, very early in my career, where I was so good at selling that they wouldn't promote me. So it was and it was pretty much sold to me in that way, that pretty much basically made me go to the county, which is where I've been for the last almost 20 years. So it's funny how things like you said, it's like these things have to happen in order for you to get to this particular point. Right. So I perfectly fine with that. But when it comes to the voice acting itself, you guys know I struggle with imposter syndrome a lot. I mean, like to the point where I don't want to record because I feel like it's gonna be crap, or it's just I'm not gonna put out quality products. I think it's important to recognize as yourself when you're starting to go down these particular roads, but you got to build that support system. I'm very lucky to have my wife right next door. She was an actress. She was very good at what she did back in the high school, and then in community theater very recently. So I get to bounce a lot of stuff off of her. So super thankful to have her here with me. But yeah, I mean, you've got to recognize those things. You got to make sure to know, when you've got to snap out of it. I mean, we don't like the way that we sing. We don't like the way that our voices are. But we got to get used to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, certainly.
I don't know. I had a traumatic thing happen between me and my ex-husband like a year ago, and Brian was kind of along for the ride with that. And I was devastated at the time, but considering where I am now, because it was like, are we going to go back and maybe try to work on the marriage? Right. And I had thought we were going to go back to therapy and maybe just delay divorce a little bit. But it was just like, I don't think he made a very wise decision. I didn't like his reasoning for it, basically. But I turn around and I say, you know what? I am miles away from where I would be, if I had still, because sometimes those things need to happen. Like we need to be shoved.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's something that can go through your head when you're in a situation. Like, what am I learning right now? What are you teaching me right now if you're a spiritual person?
What is this for? Explain. And then they'll explain about 2 months later.
Yeah. No, absolutely. No, very good information all around. I know we're getting down to the last 10 minutes here. So before we do wrap this up, I would like to go around real quick and just have everyone kind of give a small tidbit of advice as to what you do or what you think other people should do to get over these humps that we find ourselves with. I see you smiling at the word humps there, Pashley. I saw that.
Wow.
No, I'm smiling at Sunny Singer. Sorry.
Hi, Sunny.
Pashley's just 13. Just
True.
I think it popped into my head in the regard of the sort of thing of I've just realized that there has been a very big theme that hasn't technically gone, but it explains a lot. So I mean, since a very young age, I wanted to act. Very young age, I wanted to act. And there have been two moments in my life where I remember vividly of just breaking down, going, "Oh my God." Because one was when my own drama teacher told me I would never be good enough and that I shouldn't have picked GCSE drama. And that was the moment that went, okay, if I can't be in front of the camera, I'll be behind the camera. So then I went to do film and stuff. And then upon coming out of that, my someone else basically saying, I don't think working in film is for you. And then just having just those moments of, oh my God, what is my life going to be? But now I'm here and I'm doing voice acting and I'm part of some really huge things. And I'm there going, don't give up on something that has stuck with you for so long.
Absolutely.
If it's a small little gemstone that's never really been shaken, no matter what life has thrown at you, hold on to that and find it. Take that time to recognize when life is putting you through the ringer. What is it? And keep hold of it and work around just trying to help do little bits and pieces to get yourself back on track, and just don't lose sight of that little stone of what makes you, I think.
Definitely.
Which I think might help with the grounding and stopping anxiety and all these other things that we all end up kind of dealing with. But for putting it down to the really the base, like the bedrock of it all. When everything goes to utter shit, just remember why and what you're doing and why you're doing it, and just think about that and just sort of be in that. This is what I want to do. Nothing has stopped me yet from doing this. This won't stop me from doing this. And then find that just small little things to get you through. It may take weeks, it may take a month, it may take a year. It took me 3 years before I was happy enough to start to think about doing anything to do with like film and stuff again. Like no matter what time, like everyone's different. Everyone needs a certain amount of time to go to heal from stuff. Allow yourself to have that and be kind to yourself, and don't think you have to do it for anyone else. Do it for you. And that's my very much not tidbit.
No, that's pretty much what I was going to say, to be honest. I think having some form of self-reflection is very important, like when it comes to like these grand pursuits, especially like in voice acting. You know, everyone dreams of doing a voice for, you know, some big production. Voice acting, as I've said, is a slow burn. It's going to take a lot of hard work and dedication and time, patience, and a little bit of luck in there to achieve what you are going for. And having that self-reflection and that bit of like humbleness to yourself is really going to go a long way, because you'll be able to identify what you are good at, what you're not good at, when it's time to kind of push yourself a little bit further, or when you need to say, this isn't working, I'm going to move on to something different. You know, like say you find a project that you think is going to be a good opportunity, and then you find out that the director is asking way too much of you. You know, you need to be able to see that and just put a barrier down and say, nope, I'm sorry, this is not what I'm looking for. You know, catch you later. So as well as, or on top of that, it's also important to reach out to others, especially when you need support.
That's why we're here, guys.
Life can be a bitch sometimes. We all know that. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with going to somebody you trust and being like, hey, I've had a really crappy day. Can we talk? You know, it's important to have people around you to rely on in that sense, because they will do the same for you, you know, whenever they need it. But it's important to be able to get those things out in the open. It's I know someone in chat earlier was saying it's never a good thing to keep emotions like that bottled up inside. Like it's going to tear you apart if you continue to do that, and therefore it's not going to help you with your journey into voice acting or whatever interest you might have. So always try to find people to rely on that you can look to for support if you're ever really having kind of a hard day. But always, you know, be available for them as well should they ever need it.
But be honest, and if you are yourself not in a position to be able to help someone, be honest with them in that fact.
Yes,
because if you can't help, if you're not emotionally able to help them, it's not going to help you or them. So being honest and being able to just sort of like say, if you are available, be available. If you're not, be honest and say, I can't help you right now.
Right. Yeah, no, that's a very good point. Pashley or Zamoody?
Let you go first, Pash.
Okay. So I can't stress enough that in my healing process, how important it is to create, especially in the face of destruction. And that can be a micro creation or a macro creation, right? So completing, come back to crossword puzzles, but completing a crossword puzzle or building a Twitch channel, right? That like having Twitch things around in that process of starting my new life was immensely huge, and building a family. But it doesn't even have, like, it could be of any size and it could be of any shape, right? So that for me is probably like improving yourself, looking within and saying like, oh, what do I want to do better? What can like, oh, okay, I'm going to drink 64 ounces of water today. Like Water Messiah would approve of that. Yeah. So thinking of things to take care of yourself, that has been bar none the most helpful to me.
Yeah. So I can list 100 different things that helped me, and like I had a blog, I wrote a diary, I have art pieces, like artwork. I made my channel. I made my channel 3 times before the one that you see now. Like I have like there's just make something, and even if it is just something that you just like you may never ever like release like to like the public or whatever, just make stuff, and it's a really good way to not only help you vent your frustrations, but when you go to an actual medical professional about stuff, they will be able to interpret and see your stuff too, and be able to get an actual idea on stuff. Because I can't stress enough never give up with like mental health professional stuff, because it takes a really long time. But if you just sort of give up, restart, and only go when you're at your crisis point, you're just going to get that impression of that they don't care because they don't act fast enough, if you know what I mean. But that's not the case. Just keep going at it, even if it feels like a long time. And I can't stress enough how much Grim has helped me in that regard, because it'll be the case of like, I'll feel at 1 minute like, oh, they're taking too long, or I don't need I don't need this external help, or I don't need this, or I don't know. It's like, no, you do. Shut up. Just wait, sit. They'll call you in a minute. Yeah.
And Burnham in chat actually brings up a very good point that a simple, hey, I'm here if you want to be distracted with like games or chat can be very helpful if you're not emotionally available for serious talk, which
this is very good too.
Yeah, that's sometimes all that somebody needs. Like, hey, I've had a really shitty day. Can we go do something to, take my mind off of it? Because sometimes I know for myself too, that's all that you really need is you just need a moment to stop thinking about whatever that thing may be. And then once you have more of a clear mind, you can come back and figure out later on how to deal with it.
Yeah.
So you've already talked about this, Eldurrino. Evaluating where you are in your life, is this really what you want to be doing? Because if you're doing the voice acting, and we've talked about this before, to try to get rich or try to make a living out of it, the expectations there, I mean, in all honesty, like Eldurrino just said, it takes a lot of luck in order to be able to move through this particular profession. You want to manage those particular expectations, because if you go in there and you're not, it takes years and years and years and you're not making a living, you put that pressure on you, your work is going to just completely suffer. And it's very obvious when that happens. It applies to Twitch. It applies to if you're a struggling artist out there. If you put too much pressure on yourself, your work is going to suffer. So I would say make sure that you evaluate that. Also evaluate it in your job. If you're not happy at your job and you can't take it anymore, don't wait. Don't bottle it up. Like Magmorta said, you're going to explode at one point. Try to find the things that'll make you happy. But at the same time, make sure that it doesn't hurt your way of life and it doesn't hurt your living.
Definitely. No, I agree. All right, cool. Any other last thoughts from anybody? Any little tidbits of advice?
Always create stuff because it helps. It will be whatever it is. Make more stuff. Always make stuff.
I know that
stuff is
when
good.
I'm
Make
stressed,
stuff.
Make stuff. It's good.
Oh, Mom 2 is chiming in. Pursuing your dream for no other reason than it makes you happy. Sometimes tough to realize, and that's an okay thing to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what the whole, the dream is for. It's something that should make you happy and something you want to keep doing day in and day out. Like, somebody wants to work at a job that they resent going to every day like I did. So.
But don't put too much pressure on yourself that you have to reach that goal. Otherwise, if you know what I mean.
You got to find the balance. See, keep yourself motivated. Stay happy. Be happy with what you're doing.
Don't worry.
DMCA.
DMCA, yes.
Oh, sorry.
All right. Thank you all for being here today. I think this discussion was fantastic. Hopefully, everybody who is listening has taken away something from this, that life is going to punch you right in the face sometimes, but it's just more of a reason to get back up and punch life back.
When life throws lemons at you, throw them back.
Oh, what did you say earlier, Pashley, about that? Life will just open your mouth and try to make lemonade with it. No.
I said, they just sometimes it lands in your stomach and a baby is born.
Wow. You been watching Rugrats lately? Is that what's going on?
I watched a lot of that as a kid.
So next week, intro Renara. You think you'd be able to pull it off?
Yep.
All right.
Ooh.
We're always available
Hell
for
yeah.
help. I'm hoping that we have a guest next week. This gentleman is currently working on a project. It's a nice 40-minute long plus video, I think, that we've been watching. Some of us are involved. So we are hoping to have Matt Man on next week to talk about his current project.
His literal magnum opus, as he is. At least that's what he coined it to me as.
It's first movement.
Yeah.
With that, thank you so much, everybody. Thank you, Eldurrino. I appreciate you stepping in today. That was very nice. From all of us to all of you, keep those tapes rolling. Keep those auditions going, please. And don't forget, put yourself out there. You never know what can happen for it.
Yeah.
Till next time. That's a wrap. Bye.